Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Let's Get Real podcast. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the comedy genre, specifically focusing on the 2008 film Step Brothers, as we dive into the history of comedy, give our thoughts on the film itself, along with an overall rating, and discuss some of our favorite all-time comedies. So, let's get this one going. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Let's Get Real podcast. My name is Joni Young, sitting next to my good friend Josh Josue Silva. What's up, Josh?
What's up, man?
Also joining us today is our good friend Bailey Caspian C. What's up, Bailey?
What's up, man? Just chilling with my beaches.
Yes, you are, baby. And last but not least, we have our good friend Bearded Bryce Beavers. What's up, Bryce?
What's up, dude? How are you?
Doing good, man. Today is Monday, April 12th, 2021, and today we'll be discussing the comedy genre, specifically focusing on the 2008 film Step Brothers as we dive into the history, give our thoughts on the film along with an overall rating, and share some of our favorite all-time comedy films. So, Josh, Bailey, why don't you go ahead and give us a little quick rundown about the history of comedy?
Yeah, of course, man. So, comedy. Comedy was one of the first genres that gained popularity. It had appeal because the silent film era was all action and no dialogue. Audiences at the time were engaged and entertained by the humor of what was portrayed on screen. Slapstick comedy was the style of the time. One of the earliest comedy films was the Lumiere Brothers movie titled The Sprinkler Sprinkled. That's a hard title to say, just so y'all know. And what this was about was a child tricking a man. Super action-packed. It's a guy tricking the kid, tricking him, and then just getting wet with the water hose. So, I don't know.
It was pretty much just like a prank show. Kind of,
it was like...
But it kind of turned into a movie after that.
Yeah.
It's called The Sprinkler Tinkler?
The Sprinkler Sprinkled.
Okay.
But many of the elements of the silent film genre are still seen in many of today's comedies. These elements include things such as farcical situations, physical mishaps, practical jokes, and accidents. Once talking films came about, elements were added to the genre. The main element was that of the wisecrack, so just jokes, basically, spoken jokes. This is where the element of the spoken joke was introduced. The most notable creators of comedy was the Marx Brothers. The most notable of them was Groucho. I asked Bailey if he knew who that was. Y'all know who Groucho is?
Absolutely not, no.
So he's the dude with the round frame glasses and smoked the cigar.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
I didn't know who he was, and then I looked him up, and I saw him
Yeah.
with the glasses, the cigar. I was like,
And
oh,
this-
great, this guy.
instantly knew who he was.
He's iconic.
Yeah, he really is. Reminds me of Even Stevens because
Yeah.
he had it. Yeah, so
Mhm.
anyways. Sophisticated verbal comedy was also there. Disrespect for establishments, nonsensical action, elements of buffoonery, which we're going to talk on a little more later on. And that's just immature and outlandish action. One of the most famous movies by the Marx Brothers was that of the Cocoa Knots. That's a 1929 film. This movie gave the brothers widespread attention. The history of comedy has remained unchanged over the years. There's very little that has been added or taken away. From the Lumiere Brothers to Monty Python to John Hughes and the introduction of teen comedies like 16 Candles, not much has changed. There's always in comedy the overtop action, events, situations that come together to create a sense of comedic elements, and that just makes what makes comedy go, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
It's like
it's-
everything that makes people laugh, it's still going to make people laugh today rather than way back when.
Yeah,
So-
researching on this was pretty simple because, again, it hasn't changed a lot, so that was pretty cool to me. That
You said the element buffoonery. You
Yeah, that's a
mentioned
big
that.
word.
First of all, that's a fun word to say.
that's why I kept
You want to
it.
hit on that, man?
Yeah, so buffoonery again is just like immature action. So like again for the movie we're talking about, just Step Brothers, how like there's
Immature,
outlandish things, like
yeah.
when they're fighting and like they're like killing each other with the what does she say? Well, you're killing him with the launcher. I've never thought my son was gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, with
Try
the
to-
bicycle.
The
Oh,
bicycle.
yeah.
So like just those kind of things, like just super outlandish. Like this would never happen, but
Fighting,
we're
like,
watching it on film.
6-year-olds in the front yard.
Yeah,
And that's the
40.
reason why it's so funny is because
Mhm.
you don't see it in everyday life, and like it's just buffoonery, you know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
crazy.
Just stuff that you're just like outlandish. Like
Always gonna make you smile.
yeah,
Yeah.
like even the most hard critic of any comedy film would watch this and be like, would crack a joke, like crack a smile, because
Yeah.
this movie is just wild.
All right, so we want to go ahead and switch it over to the topic of the day, which is the 2008 film Step Brothers. So let's go ahead and kind of discuss our thoughts on it. You want to start off, Bryce? Give us your overall thoughts on
Well,
the film.
I think it's really like I don't know how to describe it. one of my favorite Will Ferrell movies by far.
Okay.
I think this is that. Okay, you know what this is? This started me off on a Will Ferrell binge, because immediately after watching this movie, I went and watched all his other movies because it's just so funny. The way him and John C. Reilly interact with each other throughout the whole movie, it makes you want to watch more. So I really enjoyed it.
For sure.
And they did the same thing in like Talladega Nights
Yes,
before that, and
yeah.
they just work good together.
Yeah.
Them two.
And
So.
then
They also did another film called Sherlock and
The
Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah,
which
I
was
forgot about that
horrible,
one.
by the way.
No, yeah, I
recommend that one at all.
yeah, I saw the trailer for that and I was like, oh crap, they ruined the dynamic. Like, shake and bake, baby. What happened? But you know,
Yeah, what about you, Bailey?
Obviously, it's like one of the most hilarious movies I've seen. I think it's my top tier like comedy movie, and watching it, there's like definitely some laugh out loud moments. And I love Will Ferrell. My wife, she's not a big fond of him. Like some people just dislike him, but I really like him for some reason. Yeah, in my opinion, it's like goes up there with one of the greats comedy movies. So
Yeah, what about you, Josh?
So I'm actually like Bailey's wife. I didn't like Will Ferrell for the longest time, and it's just because where I grew up and whatnot. But yeah, like once I got into Will Ferrell, I really loved this movie. And like what you were saying, John C. Reilly, like rewatching this now and like watching them like just
interact and
their interaction, like
they,
I was just
play
like,
off
man,
each other. And
yeah.
yeah.
There's
you
so
can tell
many
they had
moments.
really good chemistry between
They
one
They
another.
really do. Like there's moments like you can like kind of see where they were just winging it, and like it was fun. Like,
Yeah, and
so,
you asked like director, and a lot of those scenes that like made into the movie was just them ad-libbing. Like they were
ad
like
libbing. That's
when
the
they're
word.
in the bed laying together, like talking like shit to each other. They were literally just ad-libbing that whole entire scene.
yeah, and I read somewhere like the first script was like 200 pages, and they had to like cut it down like because they had so many jokes and so many like antics that they were going to do, and they had to cut so much stuff out of the movie. Because,
Well, even
like,
stuff like that, I think that they added themselves. Like, for some reason, the Yoda shirt that he's wearing threw me off and like just made me laugh. Like, just like what they add to it. Like,
40-year-old man wearing
yeah,
a tight yellow.
like it just
like,
adds to the
shirt.
humor,
Yeah.
and you can just very much tell that that's just them. Like, so
Yeah.
that's what I love about this
Yeah.
movie.
Kind of playing pranks on one another too. I love
Yep.
that prank war they had at the beginning.
oh
That's
yeah.
probably one of my favorite parts of the film. You know, I really love this one. You know, it came out in 2008, which was 13 years ago. It's kind of hard to believe that was
That- yeah,
13 years
that
ago.
was-
yeah.
I swear 2008 was not that long ago.
Same.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that it still holds up, I feel like you can make any sort of Step Brothers reference and people will get it. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you can say a certain line from that movie, and if you were around during that time or you saw the movie growing up, you automatically know what it's from. And that's the great part about this film. You know, I will say the one thing, not that I dislike about this film, 'cause there's nothing about this film I dislike. You know, there are some cringy moments
Yeah.
in this film, but it just makes for the comedy to be just so much better and keeps you engaged throughout. One part I don't like is because there are some parts in this film that you cannot get away with telling those jokes today. You know, you cannot get away. For example, whenever Brennan's in the Nazi uniform and Dale's in the KKK hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, those are jokes that you can't get away with today.
Yeah.
You know, but so
I'd be in trouble for that.
which is you know, it plays on the whole comedy being attacked today, especially when people are a lot more sensitive today than they were back in 2008. You know, so I feel like comedy is being attacked, especially with cancel culture going around. Because if this movie came out today, that'd be canceled immediately.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
Can't get away with that stuff.
Well, even
So-
like how we were talking about, like I think Bailey, you said that you watched it on Sling or something.
Oh yeah, I watched it
Yeah.
on Sling, and they cut out so much stuff because it's a rated R movie,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
and they cut out so much stuff of the cringiness and like they cut out all the bad words, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everything, and it was
And
just
like the whole part where they beat up the kids.
Yeah, I
is what-
know.
yeah, they cut out that part too.
I love
so.
that part.
It's like one of the best parts of the film.
I know.
Yeah.
But you know, I still do feel like comedy today is being attacked, especially comedians, stand-up comics. I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy.
Mhm.
I love it. I respect the really the art form it takes to just go up there and you have to be entertaining. It's just you and a mic
Yeah.
on camera in front of an audience. You
It
know,
takes a lot.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you have
Yeah.
to be entertaining. You got to be funny. Make sure your stuff hits, especially in
you
the,
like-
with your audience as well.
You write your bits out beforehand,
Mhm.
test it with a bunch of different audiences, see what hits and what doesn't. It's like it's legit an art form because they have to practice a lot before they're able to go up on the stage and do that.
One of my
Absolutely.
favorite comedians who talks about that is Bill Burr. I
Mhm.
don't know if y'all know him.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes, I love
He's
Bill Burr.
hilarious,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like a lot of the stuff he says, I just laugh because he talks about how like hard it is to be a comedian now, and so yeah, I think that kind of adds to that.
Yeah, and it just kind of it makes me upset that these really really funny comics are getting in trouble for stuff that they said 10, 15 years ago when people were a lot more were less sensitive, I guess,
Yeah.
than they are
But
today.
now it's because they're more sensitive and it's
Yes.
coming up again,
Exactly,
and they can just go back on it. And
But that's what
maybe-
comedians do. What they do is they go up, they find the line. They don't cross it, but they go right up to it.
Yeah.
Kind of dance, maybe gamble a little bit, and if you know anything about gambling, you don't win all the time. That's why it's called gambling.
Yeah.
And so they go right up to that line, but then time goes on. That line then moves up, and they follow the line with it. But that joke is still over there, so that joke is still technically over the line at that point. And when you go back in time and re-listen to that joke, and people wanted them to apologize for it, which doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like they adjusted, they adapted the times we're in.
Yeah.
Why are you having wanting them to go out and apologize for that kind of stuff? That
Definitely.
really infuriates me. Just as a fan, like
Yeah.
I can only imagine how it would make me feel if I was actually a comic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that kind of leads into like the comedians of each era too, like how comedians like each era has had their, so like we were talking about Groucho, and that's from the 30s to the 60s. So we had Groucho, Peter Sellers, Jerry Lewis. Jerry Lewis I know kind of like just through jokes, but the 90s had Jim Carrey, which again,
Yeah.
like you're saying, like one of the more cringy of well, not even, but like I think of Ace Ventura
Probably
and
more
the,
outlandish,
outlandish.
comic
Yeah.
actors
I always
and,
think
and
about the,
comedians as
Yeah.
well.
the rhino scene in Ace Ventura where he like, comes out of the butt.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Robin Williams, Bill Murray was from the
yeah.
90s.
Rest in peace,
2000s,
Robin.
and he's
man.
even now, I think, like,
Oh yeah,
he's
he's
still
still
good.
he's
Yeah.
still going. Yeah.
but the 2000s again is like Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, and Owen Wilson. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's like what you're saying, like for sure. I'm pretty sure like these comedians feel that too, and it's probably harder to make comedy nowadays than it was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
That's
We can segue into some of y'all's favorite comedy movies if we want to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, this one definitely ranks up there. One of my favorites. It's from the 1980s. Airplane.
Oh,
I love that
yes.
movie. It's just an
Love
all-time
Airplane.
classic. That one. Blazing Saddles. Blazing
Yep.
Saddles.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that also kind of fits into
Mhm.
that one. Once again, the jokes in that one you probably couldn't get away with doing today.
Oh,
I'm really glad it came out during the time that it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are two that really stick out to me. What about you, Bailey?
Yeah, I love Bruce Almighty. That's one of my favorite
Oh, yes,
movies
Bruce
with Jim Carrey.
Mhm.
And obviously I love Grown Ups and what was Benchwarmers. I love Benchwarmers.
Benchwarmers.
That's one of my favorite movies
That's a
ever.
good one.
Yeah. What about you, Bryce?
I'd say I'm kind of like with Jonah. I love the older comedies, so I like Airplane and all the Naked Guns.
Oh, those are
Leslie-
great too.
Yes,
Yeah.
love those.
With Leslie Nelson.
Leslie
right?
Nelson,
Yeah.
yes.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. Surely you can't be serious. I am. Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. It's one of the most iconic lines.
Oh yeah.
What about you? Josh?
So I'm looking up some right now, and like one of the ones I forget is The Big Lebowski, and that's like one of my
Oh,
favorite
yes.
movies.
Yep.
Yes.
Then I'm seeing The Sausage Party. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that
Oh,
one.
No,
It's super
thank
cringy,
God.
but I
Yeah.
laughed. And then there was another one I saw. I can't. Yeah, there's just so many to be honest. Oh, Dude, Where's My Car? Do y'all remember that one?
Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh,
That was a
yes.
great one.
Again, I'm just
That
looking
was
because there's so
great.
many comedies that like
There's
you can
tons.
just keep going and like.
That's a hidden gem. I feel
That
like.
is a
It
hidden
is.
gem.
Yep.
Dude,
But-
what's my tattoo say?
But getting back to this film though, let's go ahead and give an overall rating. Start with you, Bailey. What would you give this rating?
I'm gonna give this one an 8.8. I really like it. It obviously stands in my book as one of the best comedies ever. Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna give it.
What about you, Bryce?
I'd say I give it 9.5 because I think it's the pinnacle of Will Ferrell movies, in my opinion. I think it's if you love Will Ferrell, if you're into Will Ferrell, it's definitely gonna be top tier
One
for
of the
you.
tops.
Yeah.
What
I
about
would
you,
say a
Josh?
9. Like I said, I was just rewatching this movie. I was watching it alone, and I was laughing out loud. So
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
It was great. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a dime. This is
Oh,
this is a
okay.
10 for me.
Yeah.
I just
Got a 10.
I love the chemistry between John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell actually helped write the movie as well, and
Yeah.
which I'm curious as to how that pitch kind of went. Be like, what if we have two 4-year-old guys and they act like 10-year-olds?
Yeah.
It's basically the
I
premise.
think
of the
it
movie.
started from I was reading somewhere it was like the bunk bed scene. Like they were like saying like what if two 40-year-old guys like were in the same room like with bunk beds, and that's where it all started from. The
That's-
writing
yeah.
It was from that.
Oh, nice,
so,
nice,
yeah.
nice.
That was-
So yeah, you guys got any final thoughts?
Go watch it if you haven't seen it. I doubt you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I
but
doubt you haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's definitely iconic. All right, so
Only
that will
one.
do it for us here on the Let's Get Real podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/LGRpod or on Twitter at RealNationTalk, or visit our website at www.letsgetreal.net. For Josh Silva, Bailey C., and Bryce Beavers, I'm Jonah Young saying so long and see you next time here on the Let's Get Real podcast.